time for the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. And man, 3 games, 3 wins in 12 days. No big deal. Short week of traveling, down half your defense. What do you think you're most proud of when you hear that cumulative idea of what you guys had to go through? Or what does it say about your team?
Oh, just really good depth. And yeah, really proud of the guys who stepped up and stepped in. You know, Kevin Minter's been there and done it. He did a couple years ago for Devin when he was hurt. And we trust him. I'm really proud of D. Delaney. He jumped in there, had a bunch of snaps, and played really, really well.
And I know that it kind of felt like 2 totally different games happened in that one. You had one game that seemed to have a score of 28-7, and then, you know, you guys had outgained them 320 yards to 99 at one point around the third quarter. And then the other game, the Eagles had more yards of total offense in the fourth quarter than they did in the first 3 combined. How do you explain the shift in that, and what was the message behind it for you, for the team?
Well, yeah, I don't even think they would have had that, but weren't for 2 big penalties. You know, we lost our technique. Jamel's got to get his head around. He had a great interception, doing a really good technique. A couple plays later, Mike just got to keep running with his guy, and or it's even not even that close. So yeah, I think we relaxed a little bit offensively too. We had a couple third downs we didn't convert, a couple penalties that we thought we had eliminated until this ball game, and they came back to get us a little bit. But I was really proud of eating up the last 6 minutes and not giving the ball back.
When there are those moments that feel like the momentum is swinging a little bit, as a head coach, what are some of the things that you try to do in those moments to ensure that it doesn't become kind of that snowball effect? Yeah,
just stay calm as you possibly can and just talk about what's next. Don't look in the rear view, look ahead. And we knew we had to make first downs and eat up that clock. And, you know, we'd like to get our normal 31 points and kick the field goal, but that didn't happen.
And there was, of course, the storyline about Brady's thumb going into the game, and you know, then it was the first time in his career where he started, where he threw more than 40 passes and had 80% completion rate when he's throwing the ball that many times. He starts 11 for 12. I mean, the accuracy, the efficiency, especially early on in the game, I think kind of put that storyline to bed a little bit, at least early on. And what did you think led to such incredible accuracy and efficiency on the offensive side for those kind of stats?
Yeah, I think most of it was they were going to play soft, deep, not give us anything down the field, and just let us dink and dunk. And I mean, those are just shooting fish in a barrel for Tom, just taking all those easy ones, you know. And guys did a good job of catching and running after the catch.
And he was picked off at one point. He had a franchise record streak at that point without a pick in more than 227 throws. So first of all, take us through that interception and kind of what went wrong, but then what it has said about Brady that he had that streak leading up to that.
Yeah, it was one of those situations we were trying to get a chunk and trying to force it. And, you know, he went to AB. AB went way back inside on his route. He should have been going outside. And Tom threw it down the middle, overthrew it, and guy made a nice interception. But really, yeah, it was just us getting a little too greedy.
I was really excited to see for O.J. Howard, you know, midway through the third, he'd already had 5 receptions, which is more than he'd had since December of 2019. It was more than he'd had in the first 5 games combined. Ended up getting his first touchdown since that injury. How excited were you for him to be able to have a game like that, and just what that's like for any guy when they come off an injury to see them return to the form that they were pre-injury?
Yeah, he's really close to being 100%, and you know, OJ's a hell of a player, and just getting his opportunities again. And you know, Tom trusts him in the passing game. He came up huge. He had a couple big ones last week, and he just continues to grow in the offense.
And he threw a lot of, you know, even some stiff arms in there, making some tough runs. Was that something that you felt like was a newer addition to what he's been able to do as well, of a sign of him being back and ready to go fully? Yeah,
he's always been a really good run after catch guy when we've hit him with screens or other balls in the flat, you know, and he's got great athletic ability. So yeah, it's not surprising to see it.
And of course, AB having another just ridiculous game. You know, we always say that games are either a Mike game, a Chris game, an AB game, depending on what the other team does. This was definitely the AB game with 9 catches for 93 yards, even though he played 30 fewer snaps than Mike and Chris. So same thing. What was the efficiency for him in this game that he was able to put up those kind of numbers on those kind of snaps?
Yeah, he got a bunch of one-on-one. And, you know, the big play was at the end of the game. And he kind of improvised. Tom rolled out of the pocket and AB ran a hell of a route, got open, made a great catch, and then iced the game for us. But he's a great receiver, and anytime we can get him one-on-one, he's going to get a lot of targets.
Were those moments kind of the catalyst to remember why it's so nice to have had him all season so far? That some of those were maybe it's not even the route that was exactly how it was supposed to go, but that instinctual, his ability to sit down in places and get open, even if it was not exactly where he was originally supposed to be, that chemistry he has with Tom.
His first touchdown was totally that. He's supposed to be running a post route. They were in cover 2. So let me just go get open.
Yeah.
And he hooks up down by the goal line, and Tom found him, and he was on him the whole way, so it was easy for Tom to see it. And AB does a lot of that, and a lot of it successful.
And we've talked about the idea of trying to spread the ball around to the trillion weapons that you have and how that's sometimes easier said than done. And like we said, certain games it's this guy, certain games it's this guy. But right now when you look at the first 6 games, it is incredible how even it actually has been between Mike and Chris and AB. Mike has 420 yards, AB has 418, Chris has 409. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
So, and to have all 3 of them on pace for more than 1,100. What do you think has led you guys to be able to have it be so evenly split between the 3 of them? And was that really the plan, or has that just been what defenses have given you guys?
It's really just what the defense gets. That's the beauty of having 3. And when you have 1, you try to force it sometimes. And Tom has the ability to just go back, read the coverage, take his one-on-one, whether it be OJ, Cam, the 3 wide receivers, or the running backs now who are starting to get more catches. And the running backs were huge in this game catching the football for us. So, yeah, it's just take what they give you. And that's the beauty of having all those guys, and it won't selfishness creep in.
Yeah, that's true. And Fournette definitely did it every kind of way in this game. He at one point had 40 yards rushing and 40 yards receiving. I mean, that's not only a balanced offense overall, but even balanced within your running back there. Couple touchdowns, breaking tackles, making people miss. He really was just putting on a show. And third straight game for over 100 yards from scrimmage. So what stood out to you about his game on both sides of it, on the rushing side, the receiving side?
Yeah, he's playing at a very, very high level as a 3-down back, because he's catching, he's running, he's pass protecting, and just playing all around really good football. And then, when you think back, he was drafted in the top 5 guys, and he's really showing that ability now. There
was a reason, yeah. And how about, we know that all happens thanks to the offensive line. I know there was a period where you were afraid you might be without Ryan Jensen. Then he was able to go out there. So how did you see from his performance after dealing with some injury stuff during the week and the O-line overall?
I thought they played really, really well. Again, one holding penalty that we could have avoided and kind of stopped one drive, but overall, our offensive line is playing lights out and just keep them healthy.
Yes, always the knocking on all the wood. Everybody at home do it too. All right, we still have plenty more coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show, so don't go anywhere. We're back here on the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. We had talked about how it was a short week last week, and not only the Thursday game is always tough, but then you got to go on the road, and after you'd had some pretty brutal road trips recently as well. So how do you guys think you ended up handling the schedule overall, the travel, and how ready the guys were for Thursday night?
Yeah, I think we changed our schedule. We went a bit later in the day so we could get more sleep and get more rest. I really liked it. Worked out fine. I thought we were prepared physically for the ball game. Might have had a couple of guys play had we played Sunday that missed this one. And that's always the problem with Thursday night football is you might have a guy who play on Sunday that's not going to play in this one. But overall, I was very, very pleased. I like where we're at. Hopefully we'll start getting some guys back soon.
And then how do you handle now that on the pleasant side of a Thursday game, you get a little kind of mini bye weekend, a little extra time? What are the ways that you guys try to use that and how it affects the players and then you guys as coaches as well?
It's just strictly rest. And everybody chill out and gave the players off till Tuesday. We'll get back at it really hard. Got the Bears coming in and can't wait to get started in that game plan. And but the coaches need a little blow too, and take a couple days, rest, relax, and get with the families.
I know last year there ended up being kind of a storyline about the team struggling in primetime games, which I believe I remember you saying you thought was just more of a coincidence of the games that you guys played well versus not. But now this year, at least, not a storyline that you guys are struggling with. What do you now think that there was anything to that idea that you guys have handled primetime games better, or do you still think that it is more just a coincidence?
Yeah, I think last year was more empty stadiums. When you have a primetime game, and it's eerily quiet. It's like, this is weird. And we finally, I think, adapted to it as the season went on and got better at it.
And I think I heard that Virginia Tech is renaming their quarterback room after you. How cool was that for you to know that that's going to forever be the Bruce Arians quarterback room?
Yeah, it's very, 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 very touching. And the first job I ever had coaching was to take a running back and turn him into a quarterback. And Phil Rogers, who's one of our best backs, and we were running the wishbone, I taught him how to play quarterback. So it's very gratifying, and it was my wife's idea. And
as all good ideas are.
Mostly are. And so it was good. We were up there a couple weeks ago and had a great time.
That's awesome. All right, we still have more coming up here with head coach Bruce Arians. We're going to continue talking about that last win and look ahead to the Bears game as well, so don't go anywhere. Welcome into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. So you brought up earlier in the show a little bit the penalty yards. Now we've talked about penalties already several times this year. It felt like there were less penalties overall, maybe, but they were some pretty dang costly ones. 120 penalty yards, definitely the most in terms of yardage for the season. And yeah, you brought up the Eagles had more yards on those 2 pass interference calls than they did total offense in the game. So how did you feel about the penalty situation overall and the way that ended up impacting the game when there are those just massive chunk plays with it?
Yeah, it's something we have to eliminate. I mean, the ball's down the field. We got to get our head around as a defensive back. And, Jamel corrected it, came back, made a great interception. Mike, same thing. Just keep running with the guy. He thought the play was over, and no, he threw it 65 yards. Yeah. And you just got to play till the end of the whistle and use better technique. And we'll be working hard on it. We work hard on it every week. We're going to work harder on it. Donnie's holding penalty, just get better technique again. All 3 of the big critical ones were all technique.
And if I had told you that there would be a game where you were without Carlton, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Levante, Antoine, and then you'd lose Richard Sherman in the first defensive series, what would your thoughts have been about how that would have gone?
Yeah, same old story. Hey, one man's injury is another man's opportunity, and I really like our young players on this team, and we have some veterans that are sitting in cool, really, really important roles like Kevin Minter too.
And I know it had to be unfortunate to lose Richard Sherman right as he was going to be trying to get a better handle on things, that he just had to come in and be forced into such a big role so fast. So what were your reactions to just knowing that the timing of that injury and that what it means for the secondary overall, but then also just for the progress you were hoping to be able to make with him? Yeah,
it sets him back. Know how long he's one of those quick healers, but we'll have to wait and see. We have that open date coming pretty soon, so we should hopefully get a bunch of guys back after that. But again, Rashard Robinson's been working really hard. Pierre Desir jumped in, played really well. D. Delaney jumped in, played really well. So we've got some good young players that's just it's their time now. It's their time. And how did you see Devin step up to the plate, knowing that he wasn't going to have his sidekick Levante with him? How was that going to change? We've talked about Minter stepping in for Levante, but how was that going to change things for Devin and the way he handled it? Really, just play your role. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to be a hero. Just do your job. And he played one of his best games yet. He did a great job communicating, and we really shut the read option down completely in that game. And if it weren't for those penalties, it would have been a great night. And without having Antoine Winfield Jr. out there, most of the injuries that had been a more of a corner situation. So to lose him, how did that end up affecting the domino effect of who all was available for different positions, and then just how your safeties were able to play overall without him? Well, but Jordan missed all that time early, and then getting him back helps. And then we lose Antoine, but no, Jordan's legit big-time player for us, and then Mike's as steady as you get. So knock on wood, we keep them healthy, and Andrew Adams is a really solid veteran, and Ross Cockrell he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all for us. Yeah, I'm expecting to see him in at quarterback at any point. You never know where we're going to throw him. And you brought up Jamel Dean, another interception, two games in a row. Tell us a little bit about that play, but then also just why he has been able to make a few of those lately. Is this a new trend of him being, taking a page out of Mike Edwards' book and being that ball hawk when he's in there? Well, yeah, I think you go back early in the season, he struggled a little bit, so people are testing him. And he's starting to put the fire out pretty good. Got that PI, they came back on him, he got the interception. He had a bunch of pass breakups in the ball game, and when we let him play man-to-man, that's his forte. He's long, he's strong, and he does a great job with it.
Pierre Desir and Dee Delaney, a couple names that a lot of Bucs fans did not know before very recently. So tell everybody a little bit about those two guys and what made you want to have them on this roster and give you the confidence that they would be able to step in and how you plan to use them depending on the injury situations.
Yeah, Dee made a great move during camp on special teams. And it's one of those things, you make the team on special teams and you keep improving in your position. And he's thrown into the fire out in L.A. He did a good job. He's thrown into the fire this time. He did a good job. So now he's a really solid player, we think, special teams and a DB. Pierre's been around, and like I said, I called Chuck Pagano and he gave him the highest recommendation you could get, and that's all I needed to hear.
Yeah, I said that, and Chuck Pagano's the highest recommendation that you could get.
Yeah. So it's like Pierre's played a bunch of ball, so we're training him as a nickel and a dime. He went in and covered Ertz a few times, took him out of the game. So I thought Todd Bowles had a marvelous plan with the players that he had.
And Vita just doing Vita things, at this point. But I will never get tired of talking about it. He got another sack, fighting through a double team to make a huge tackle on Sanders at one point. Tell us about his game, and do you feel like he is continuing to improve, or are we just noticing it more?
Well, he's starting to get on the stat sheet, you know, and we always know what he does, double team wise and eating up or stopping the run. And but he's starting to get after the quarterback and show his presence. And I think it's like a shark, you get a taste of that blood. He's like, oh, I got a sack or two. Let's keep going. And if Todd keeps getting him singled in some of his pass rushes, that's a hard man to handle.
Yeah, and we know that we know he's clogging up that middle. We got that covered. So in terms of setting the edge, and Jalen Hurts was going to be a guy that was going to be a bigger challenge in terms of that. And we saw both Shaq and Joe Tryon-Shenko being able to chase him just sideline to sideline. I'm sure both of them got their steps in that day, and we're wishing he'd stayed a little bit more put. But what did you like about their ability to do that, and just what it shows about the athleticism we have in that outside linebacker room? Yeah,
Shaq, the tackle could not block him, and he had his hands around him. Like, Shaq should have like 8 sacks by now. He's getting thrown off a few times. It's like, dude, you got to finish. And Joe's learning how to play a spy now. We got a bunch of athletic quarterbacks coming up, and with his athleticism and speed, he's a great spy guy. Plus, he's so tall he can jump up, and he can chase him down. So it's a nice package to have Shaq, JPP, and Joe all in the game at the same time.
All right. Well, we still have one more segment coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We'll be right back. It's time for our final segment here on the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips, head coach Bruce Arians, going into this Bears game. Justin Fields versus Andy Dalton, two very different guys in what they bring. So as you guys have been watching film and preparing for this team, what are the things that stand out about those guys and not knowing exactly the injury situation, but looking like maybe Justin Fields is the guy you're going against?
Yeah, we're planning for Justin. And, Andy's the old pro. You know what he's going to do. He's going to get that ball's going to come out fast. He's going to do all the RPO stuff he's always done. Justin's kind of like what we saw last week, with Jalen. He just pulls it down and takes off running, and he can really run. He's probably faster. So we're going to have to do a great job of containing him in the pocket, and another big, strong guy. So when we get there, can we get him on the ground? We didn't get Brissett on the ground. We didn't get Hurts on the ground. We got to get him on the ground, and I think our guys are up to the task. And this really has some really good weapons with Robinson and Mooney and young Khalil Herbert, the running back out of Virginia Tech. Really, really liked him coming out.
And then I know that before this last game, at least, the Bears led the NFL with 18 sacks. You got Khalil Mack out there. You got Robert Quinn out there. They're 6th and 10th in the NFL in sacks before this last game. So tell us about each of those guys and what they kind of bring and how you'll be preparing for trying to make sure you don't add to those stats.
Yeah, they're both great pass rushers. But Akeem Hicks in the middle, he's the big guy, kind of like Vita, who pushes that pile to them. And so this is a very, very dominant front. And offensive line will have their hands full.
And I saw you're just decked out in the Crucial Catch gear. We know we got Crucial Catch coming up this next week. Tell everybody a little bit about why that means so much to you.
Well, being a 2-time cancer survivor, it means the world to me. And early detection is the key. I was very, very fortunate in both of my diagnoses. I caught early and didn't have to go through radiation and chemo. And so, I'm big, and especially last year with the pandemic, a lot of people didn't get screened. And really pushing this year to get everybody screened and catch it early.
Well, thank you so much for doing the show. We always appreciate it, and good luck against the Bears. And, of course, enjoy the Crucial Catch game.
You bet.
All right. Well, thanks to you guys for joining us this week on the Bruce Arians Show. We will be back here next week to talk about that Bears game.